She sat alone at the corner table of the restaurant, her hands folded in her lap, her fingers twisting nervously as though each movement might calm the storm that raged inside her chest. She had been waiting for this night for weeks, and she had prayed it would finally be the one where she no longer had to hide behind screens and polite messages. She had chosen her outfit carefully, a lavender gown that softened the shape of her body, and a shawl that she kept pulling over her arms as if fabric could erase her insecurities. Her makeup was light, her lips brushed with a shade of pink, her cheeks touched with the faintest glow, but beneath it all, her heart was pounding. She told herself again and again that tonight would be different. She had spent her life being told she was too much, too large, too noticeable in all the wrong ways. Relatives whispered when they thought she could not hear. Strangers stared as if she were not human classmates, joked in ways that left scars. No one could see she had grown used to silence, swallowing her pain until it sat heavy inside her. But tonight was supposed to be her chance at something new. The restaurant buzzed with quiet chatter, couples leaning close over candlelit tables, laughter spilling softly between clinking glasses. The smell of roasted garlic and fresh bread filled the air. She sat straight, her eyes darting to the door every time it opened, and then finally there. He was the man she had been waiting for. He walked in, tall, neatly dressed, his smile polite as he scanned the room. His gaze met hers for the briefest second, and then she saw it, the flicker of disappointment that shadowed his face. He walked over reluctantly and sat across from her, his hands fidgeting. On the table she tried to greet him warmly, but her voice wavered slightly still. She smiled, hoping to salvage whatever chance remained. Within moments, she knew his mind was elsewhere. His eyes avoided hers, his tone curt, and when the waiter came, he ordered nothing. She felt her chest tighten as he leaned forward and whispered words that sliced through her fragile hope. He said he could not do this. He was sorry, but she was not what he had expected. She was too fat. Her breath caught, though. She forced a smile and nodded as though she agreed, as though she was not already breaking inside. He stood up quickly, muttering an apology that meant nothing, and walked away. She sat frozen, staring at the glass of water the waiter had placed for him. Untouched, her throat burned, her vision blurred. She wanted to vanish into the chair, into the floor, into the dark corners of the room where no one could see her shame. But someone had seen everything. A man seated at the next table. A man in a dark tailored suit with a presence that made heads turn quietly without demanding attention. His watch gleamed against the soft light. His hair perfectly kept his expression calm yet thoughtful. He had observed the cruelty, the rejection, the quiet strength in the way she tried to hold herself together though her world was crumbling. He watched her wipe her tears quickly, pretending to adjust her shawl. He watched her stare at the empty chair as though it was mocking her. He waited for a moment, then rose from his seat and walked toward her. His steps measured, his eyes steady. "Excuse me, may I sit here?" he asked, his voice deep, steady, not pitying, but respectful. She blinked, confused, unsure if she had heard correctly. But before she could answer, he gently pulled the chair back and sat across from her, the very seat the other man had abandoned. "I saw what happened," he said softly, "and I am sorry that you had to endure, that people can be cruel, but I need you to know something. It is not you who should be ashamed, it is him." Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her eyes flickered with disbelief. Who was this stranger? Why was he here? Why did he care? He continued, "Because I see strength in you. I saw how you smiled. Even when your heart was breaking, I saw courage in the way you held yourself. You deserve far better than someone who cannot see beyond the surface." She shook her head faintly, whispering, "You do not have to say that, I am used to it." His gaze softened, and he leaned forward, lowering his voice but firm in conviction. "You should never get used to being treated less than what you are worth. You are not defined by anyone else's shallow judgment. I know because I have been judged too." She frowned. "You do not understand." He smiled faintly. "Oh, but I do. You see, I was not always the man people see today. I was laughed at, called a failure, told I would never amount to anything. People saw nothing in me, and some still do. But I did not change for them. I became stronger for myself. I fought to create the life I wanted, and I refused to let their words bury me. The waiter approached, placing a menu before him. He waved it aside without looking and said, "I will have whatever she is having." She looked at him, stunned, her heart racing. The first man had walked away because of her, and now this man was staying because of her. They began to talk slowly at first, her answers short, her voice unsure, but he listened carefully, never interrupting his gaze, steady on hers as though nothing else in the world mattered. He asked about her life, her dreams, her passions, and though she hesitated, her words began to flow. He did not laugh. He did not judge. He simply listened and smiled as though each word carried weight. She told him about the books she loved, the stories she wrote late at night but never showed anyone, she confessed. She dreamed of opening a bakery someday, filling it with warmth and sweetness. He leaned closer, his eyes lighting with interest, and said, "Then you must create that dream, because the world deserves to taste what you bring into it." For the first time that night she laughed, a real laugh, one that spilled free and unrestrained. The sound made him smile wider. He told her about his own struggles, the nights he worked until dawn building a business from nothing, the times he had been rejected and ridiculed, and how he chose to rise anyway. They shared stories until the restaurant grew quieter, until they had long forgotten the cruelty that had started the evening. When the night ended, he walked her outside, the city lights reflecting softly in her eyes, the cool air brushing against her cheeks. He turned to her with sincerity and said, "You deserve someone who values your heart, not your size. Someone who sees beauty beyond the surface, because true beauty is not measured. It is felt, and you, my dear, have more of it than most people will ever know." Her throat tightened with emotion. She whispered, "Thank you. Not only for tonight, but for the way you made me feel." He smiled gently. "I did not do anything special. I simply saw you for who you are, and that is enough." From that night on, her life began to change. She no longer carried herself with her shoulders slumped or her eyes downcast. She began to believe in her own worth. She started writing more, baking more, smiling more. She no longer let cruel words pierce her heart as deeply as before, and each time she remembered the man in the dark suit, the man who had chosen to sit where another had walked away, she felt stronger. As for him, he did not forget her either. He found himself drawn back to her light, her laughter, her courage. She was not just the girl who had been rejected on a blind date. She was the woman who refused to let rejection define her. She was the woman whose heart could outshine any wound, and in her he saw something rare, something he could not walk away from. So the story that began with rejection did not end in despair. It grew into something deeper, something more powerful. It became the story of a girl who learned her worth and of a man who saw in her the kind of beauty that never fades. And together they discovered that sometimes what seems like the worst moment can lead to the beginning of everything.